So, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to this evening's program. Tonight, we're happy to have back experienced tech instructor Carlos Galeana for the second program that he has agreed to teach for us, this one being on Microsoft PowerPoint 365. His last program that he will be teaching is going to be next week, and that's going to be on Microsoft Excel. So if that's something you might be interested in and you haven't registered for yet, this is the chance to do so. Definitely do so after tonight's program. And without further ado, I'm happy to hand it over to Carlos. We're happy to have you here again, and we're eager to hear what you have to teach us about how to use Microsoft PowerPoint.
Thanks, James. Good to be with you all again. This is wonderful, really wonderful experience, and I'm pretty far away from you all. I'm here in the West Coast, and thanks to the magic of technology, I'm able to connect with you all. I'm going to have my workshop here kind of divided into three segments. The first segment is going to do a quick introduction of PowerPoint. The second segment is going to do an overview of a mock presentation that I have kind of prepared for you all. And then the last segment is kind of focused on facilitation and leading the workshop, kind of like the one I'm doing right now. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and just start off by sharing my screen. And here is my screen. So one of the exciting things about PowerPoint and just the various Office tools offered by Microsoft like Word and Excel and OneNote is that you can actually access them for free. So I'm going to kind of get started from that point of view and then work our way throughout our work. If you have this in your workplace, this is kind of a similar setup. So you basically start off by going to outlook.com or office.com, then you log in with your Microsoft account. And if you don't have one, you can go ahead and create one for free. If you're using this at work, you can just log in with your work account and it should look something like this. In this case, I logged into outlook.com. You can see that I have my inbox and my drafts here. I personally always like logging in from outlook.com because I get to read my mail, respond to a few messages, and then I can get to work on my tasks. The tasks here are here in this thing called the app launcher, which are these like little 9 dots. And then from here, you could jump on to the various tools you can use for work, for school, or for at home. There's OneNote, here's Microsoft Word. OneDrive is Microsoft's version of the cloud. You get 5 gigabytes of free storage. Pretty good for documents, but if you put up a lot of songs and pictures and videos, those 5 gigabytes go by quickly. Here you can access your calendar, other tools. If you look at all apps, you see a full list of tools there. I'm going to go to PowerPoint. And then from here, there is my previous projects I've worked on. Here's some templates. Anytime you see a diamond symbol, it's a premium feature, so that means that you would have to pay for it through your Microsoft 365 subscription. This presentation is being recorded, so I would encourage you to watch it once it gets posted on YouTube. And you'll also get a copy of my presentation that you'll be able to reference in the tail end of my workshop. So I'm going to just start off with a blank presentation. I'll just give you a quick tour of what you have to work with. And it's all web-based. So that means I'm just using the internet here at the moment, and you can use any computer that has internet, whether it's a Chromebook, Linux computer, Windows 10, Mac. I'm using Mac today, but you can use really any computer with internet connection. And one of the exciting things is that you can also do similar things on your iPhone or your iPad or your Android device. All you have to do is just download the Office app on those devices. So here you get the full menu of Office kind of tools here. You got your text editor, your news slides, your layouts, shapes. You can arrange, design. These are like the templates. So if I choose, let's say, this one here, I could already get started with this template and then change the background. I could do slide size and change it from a standard view, which is to a widescreen view if I want. We could do transition. So when one slide turns to another slide, if you wanted to have a fade look, animations if you want to animate some of the objects, starting your slideshow. And this is all on the internet, available for free. Under Insert, these little tabs here, Insert, this is where you can add all kinds of artwork and images and icons. Icons are a modern take on clip art, so you can add those on here. Shape art, which we'll explore a little bit later, gives you the chance to do diagrams, cycles, arrows that kind of show process improvement, timelines, which we'll practice with a little bit later. You can also add text boxes here, and then you can add all kinds of text onto your slideshow. There is a share button up here. So if you're familiar with Google Slides or Google Docs, this has a similar function where you can share this presentation, and you could just share with a specific person. If I uncheck it, it would be like a view only. If I keep it checked, this means that that person can edit it. And this is ideal, like if you're at the workplace and you want to share like a view only version of your slideshow, you would do that here. You just uncheck that. Otherwise, you could just copy the link, anyone with the link, and then you could put this on an email. Say, hey, Mary, click on my slideshow, and Mary can click on that, and it's like the link is already copied and she can get to it. One of my favorite functions on here is the editing button. So right now I'm on editing button, but I'm using the full PowerPoint here in terms of the web version. But if I wanted the complete version that's on the desktop, that is the premium that you would pay for, all you have to do is you click here, and then you do editing, and then you go down to open a desktop app, and it opens PowerPoint on your desktop, and you can continue working on your desktop. That way you get the full features of PowerPoint, and you don't have to do a file save. As long as you're logged into your OneDrive account, you can totally continue working, and it syncs it up, because right now everything is being backed up to OneDrive. You can see that right now it's called Presentation 1, Save to OneDrive. If I do this drop down arrow, it tells me where it is. And I can also go back to version history and see a little bit more about different changes that I've made to it. So you can see that I haven't done too much on it. But if you were like going further ahead with your slideshow and you were like, oh, you know what, kind of want to make some changes on it, or I wasn't really happy with the edits I made, going here to this little drop down, going to version history gives you the chance to restore previous versions of your slideshow. Lastly, there's file, and you could do a whole bunch with file. You could print your slides. You can share, save as, and save it as a PDF on your computer. You could save it as, you could save another copy to your computer in PowerPoint format. You could rename your file. You could download the slides as pictures. And then you could also save it as an open Office file. So if you're using something like LibreOffice on your computer, you can download it and open it in that format. And that's kind of PowerPoint on a nutshell. Looks like there's a question. I'll pause and go ahead, James.
Yes, so the question is about the share feature. We have a viewer who is asking, when you share with a link, does it require the recipient to ask for access like Google Docs does?
Yeah, it just depends. I think since I'm using the free version, I could just share the link, and as long as I have the allow editing box checked, you should be able to go in there and you can edit my slides. If I don't have that checked, then it's view only. You can only see it. If you're using it at work, the features are a little bit different. There's some more tools and options that you could kind of work with. All right, so let me get back to sharing my slides here. So this time I'm going to kind of work on an actual presentation now that I've kind of prepared for you all. So I can go to the 9 dots to get started, or I can go to PowerPoint. If I go to the 9 dots, I can go to OneDrive, and then I could see my other projects here. anytime I have like a new project that has this little spark on it, it tells me that it's like brand new. I could just like delete these or download them. And then I have this one called presentation, and here it is. My theme is it's about conservation of tigers, and you can see that I've already done some work on here. I have a whole bunch of text. I have bullets, bullet points. It's kind of some generic information about tigers and saving tigers. So I'm going to go ahead and work on some slides here. And if there's ever something you would like me to repeat, you could just put it on the chat and I'll see if I can demonstrate that for you all. So this is my presentation. I always like to call, have the name of the project on here. So I'm clicking here and then I could just rename it. I always like to do this. I like to do draft and then underscore and then the name of my project, which is Adopt a Tiger. And then I could press enter or return on my keyboard. And then when I'm all done, I'll take off the draft component and then I'll just call it final. So I put a call to action, adopt a tiger. And here is, there's this little paintbrush next to it. It's called the designer function. It uses Microsoft's artificial intelligence to give you some suggestions on how you can make your slides look a little bit more interesting. Right now it's white background and black text. So if I do designer and then it says try it now, and then you get these suggestions. So because I said the word call, it's showing me pictures of a telephone here, and then there's some more suggestions. So let's just change that up here a little bit, backspace, and I'll just click here. Yeah, so now I got like a whole different set of suggestions. And I got tiger symbol there. I kind of like this animated one here, so I'm just gonna choose this one. And I haven't really done anything creatively. All I've done is I typed adopt a tiger, and then I went to the designer paintbrush, and it gave me this suggestion, which I think is a really cool suggestion. And what it's telling me there is that I get like 3 free tries every month. So right now I'm using one of my tries for free. If I had the full version, which is what you would pay for, or the version you would have at work or at school, then you won't have to fiddle with this. But here's some more suggestions. I'm not going to use any of these suggestions, but this is where you can kind of pick and choose other kind of layouts. I have a whole bunch of bulleted items here, from status to population, and I just wanted to pause for a quick moment because I just wanted to introduce the way you can present information but in a different way. So I'm going to take a pause from my slideshow and show you a different set of tools here. So typically, like, this is like your bulleted list, kind of like how I had it before, right? You have your topic and then you have your words here. These are like a filler words here, filler sentences. And you can make some adjustments to make it look a little bit more interesting. So you can have your bulleted list in boxes, and you can see that in this sample, they used these bright colors, right, with big block letters. You can also use icons. Icons are just like a modern twist to clip art. And you can see that there's various choices here. My favorite is the target one. I think the target one is really excellent. I think they could have probably used a different one for the management one. Award looks like a good one. If you're going to use an icon, just be really selective about which icons you're going to use and make sure they're universally understood. You could also use like boxes with tabs, so like these little miniature icons as well. You can have some animation with your icons. You could do it like in a pie chart format, like a big little slices here. I kind of like this because they all have their own like little space. You can do it like a tree format, which is they have these like little balloons on the sides, little branches. You could do it like in a timeline format. So you could see that there's many different ways of presenting the same information and having it be a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you could do that on PowerPoint. So back to my project here, I've already pre-done them. And to do that is just you type, and then there's the bullets And you could choose different bullets. You could do boxes and rhombus and check marks and chevrons, and they're all here to choose from. So I'm just going to go ahead and select it and then just copy it. And that's Control C or Command C. And I'm not going to delete it or move it away just yet. I just want to leave it there for a sec. And I want to go to Insert, Smart Art. And this is where you get those diagrams. And this is where you can choose different things like circles with arrows and large arrows, organizational charts, timelines. I'm going to go ahead and choose the little trapezoid list. And then I'm going to just do Control V or Command V to paste my facts. And it looks pretty bad right now because there's so many facts, but all I have to do now is just delete sections. So I have a couple of bulleted lists here, so I could just click here, down here, and then delete or backspace. Then I could just kind of like make this bigger. And as I make this bigger, just by pulling on these little pull handles, these little dots here, it kind of realigns the text a bit. I could just move it to the center. And now that I've kind of moved it to these trapezoids, I could just select the original and just delete it or backspace it. And if I'm not happy with this particular shape that I selected, I could just do a right click, and then I could change the layouts and choose something different. So I could choose this one. See, and I didn't have to like fiddle too much with it. And I could choose a color scheme here. So I could choose this one, this orange one, or this green one. They don't give you too many choices. They kind of have some, it's kind of like a template, so it's kind of locking you in place a bit. But I'm going to just choose the dark, kind of like burnt orange. And then under the styles, I could choose if I wanted to be like 3-dimensional or have an outline or have like an emboss to it. The word facts is kind of not that interesting for me, so I could just select it, and then I could just choose a different font choice, do more fonts. And then again, anything with a diamond, you would have to, it's part of your premium subscription. So you could just scroll down and then choose something that you would like. I'm going to choose Georgia. And here's, I could just change I could increase the font size, change the casing. So I'll just do uppercase. There we go. So that slide is all done. If I wanted to insert a new slide, so I already have a couple of them, I have 7 of them. If I wanted a brand new one, I could just do a right click, and then I could just do a new slide. And if I do a right click, I could do change layout. And these are other ways of presenting your information. So you could do picture with a caption, a blank one, title, header only, title with a subsection, compare and contrast. So you can do different kinds of things on there. When you do a new slide, they give you like these little suggestions, like you can insert a table or smart art or an icon or pictures or a picture from the internet or a video from the internet, like a YouTube video. I'm going to go to insert. I'll just show you a little bit about the icons. There's so many cool choices on icons. So there's a picture of an apple, a brain, a cake, check mark, checklist. So if I wanted the checklist one, I can click on it and press insert. I go to icons. I could also search. So if I type Asia, for example, I could get a little cutout of Asia. So I'll just do this one here. Icons. There's more on here. There's cutout people, so you can actually get folks pictures of persons. So if you were doing like a training for employees, you can get these cutouts here for them to demonstrate correct action. You can also do stickers, which are more fun and livelier. Illustrations, so if you wanted computer, guitar, dinosaur, bicycle, cartoon people, Okay, so I have my checklist, and this checklist is actually not like a photograph or an image like a PNG or JPEG. It's an SVG file, which stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. So if I move it up, it stays proportionate, and it doesn't get grainy on you because it's not in pixels. And I could just move it, and then if I go home, I could change the color of it. There's a shape outline here in the paint bucket. I could give it an orange color, or I could give it a purple color if I wanted to. Uppercase, Georgia. I could do bold. There we go. So that is that slideshow there. And then I'll go to my next one here. So I have more text. Whenever you're working with slides, I would recommend try not to type on the slides. Try to maybe type it on a Word document to gather your ideas. Maybe you can do an outline. And then once you're really happy with it, then you could probably copy and paste it. I feel like it could get really time consuming really quick if you start doing everything on PowerPoint and you start kind of brainstorming as you go along. That can make it really difficult for you with time. Other things you could do on here is if you do insert, you can do a audio recording, you can do a video, you can insert, of course, shapes. These are all the shapes that they have. You can do a big arrow if you want. And right now it's this blue arrow. So if I type on it, I can click on it, type on it. And here I could change the color of it. I can go with that burnt orange color to it, shape outline. And here under shape outline, there's weight. And I like using a thickness to the arrow. There we go. So you can have a plain shape, and then you can add text and change. And there's text right behind it. This is a text box. There's words inside this box here. So I could just backspace and delete letters, or I could just click on the edge of the box and then delete the whole thing. So I'm gonna pause here. What kind of questions do you all have?
Doesn't look like we have any questions just yet, but that might just be because people are busy typing.
So one of the cool things about PowerPoint and just other slideshow programs is, I think traditionally it's always been known about just doing a presentation and just having the slides go through, but you could do it for many different tasks and uses for PowerPoint. So recently I helped a friend who was celebrating her father's life, and I did like a celebration of life slideshow for my friend, and we put a lot of pictures of him from birth to his older age. So you could do something like that. You can also, if you're at work, you could also do like a training booklet on PowerPoint, and it could look something like this. Here's an example of a training booklet. The person did slides, and each slide was as like a page. And then if you were to print it out, you could just staple the sides and it actually becomes a book. So that's really great for staff training, or if you wanted to show a customer like a new feature, you could all do it in PowerPoint and just have all the slides be a page.
Yes, so we have a question about if you have the paid version of Office 365, can you work with someone who is using a free version?
Yes, as long as they have their Microsoft account. So you could just share it with them and then they can work on it. If you are using a paid version from work, you might not be able to share it with someone outside of your work environment because there might be some restrictions there. In my work, I can't share anything outside of my workplace because it's all like within the licensing. So I can't share it with anyone who's not in my organization. So, not my best slideshow here, but just kind of demonstrating the different things you can do on here. You can select again the text. You can right click, you can do copy, Control C, Command C, and then you can do insert, smart art, and you could do again the trapezoids, And then you can do paste. And again, it still looks funny, so you could just backspace or delete. See, and it just kind of realigns itself. If you wanted another trapezoid, you could just press enter. And I'm thinking about adding a picture now. So if I go to insert pictures, I could do pictures from this device, which is pictures on my computer, pictures, stock images, and Bing pictures. So these are pictures from the Bing search engine. I'm going to do this device. And I'm going to go over to downloads. And I have a few tiger photos here that I have saved on my computer. We'll do this one. Here we go. And again, it's offering me these suggestions from Designer. So I kind of like these suggestions. I'm going to go ahead and just choose this one. Didn't really have to do anything. I just sat and relaxed a little bit and then just let the computer do its thing. I got this really nice photo from a place called Pexels. So it's P-E-X-E-L-S. And you'll get a list of all these resources at the end of the class. I have a presentation for you all. You can access it. You can click on these resources. So I have a timeline here. So now I'm going to work on this timeline. Again, I'm selecting it, copying it, and then do an insert, smart art. This time I'm going to the timeline one. And I could choose any one of these suggestions here. I'm really like letting PowerPoint do all the work for me. All I'm focused on is getting the text, the pictures, enter tab, so it gives you that little, so they're realigning in the right spot. Click on the edge there, just backspace. So this is a timeline of some tiger extinctions that we know about. And what I could do now is I could work on animations. Animations, I use them kind of sparingly, only if they really have like a purpose. I think for this would be a great purpose to highlight the different phases of extinction here. So I can go to animations, and then I could choose one of the animations objects here. I like to be pretty conservative with the animations. I don't like to do anything super exciting. It could be a little jarring for the viewer. So I tend to stick over to like fly in or fade or wipe. Those are usually the choices I choose. And then effects, options. I could animate everything all at once as one object. And notice that it's giving me these numbers here. So these numbers are showing me that they're all going to show up at one time. I'm using my arrows. I can use left arrow, right arrow. Here are the controls. Here in the bottom, there's like a little kind of like a pen tool to it that I can use. So I could use like a little arrow. Say, hey, pay attention here. So the way I did that was I permanently chose the animation, and then I went to effects, and then I chose one by one. So it gives me like that list of they're all animating step by step. I didn't want them all the dates to show up at once. And then it has a star here on the side, so that tells me that there's an animation there. If I wanted to hide a slide, I could like to not have it be visible, or maybe it's in draft format and maybe I'm not done with it. I could just do a right click, and then I could do hide slide, and then I could just work on the other slides. If I click and hold on it, I can move it and reposition it. Transitions, I'm going to choose fade, and I'm going to do apply to all. It's kind of jarring when you have animations that are really different or transitions that are really different across your slideshow. So I just like to choose one. And I'm just going to press escape. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. I can share it again with my colleagues or my friends. I could do file. I could save as. I could download it as a PDF for printing or for sharing, or I could just save a copy to my computer. And again, if I'm not sure where it is, it's under my OneDrive. It tells me right here where it's saved. Since I'm all done with it, I can just take off the draft and I could just type the word final and then press enter on my keyboard. And then that one's ready to go. I could just close it and then I could go back to my OneDrive. Again, I got here through my nine dots, and I could just go back to it and I can continue working on it, deleting things, adding to it. Yeah, and I could just change a few things on here. All right, questions or comments? So that's my slideshow. Show you a few other things you can explore. There's this Lorem Ipsum generator, which is a really great way to get filler text. So maybe you don't have your whole entire project completed, so you can have like some text on there just to show you how your project could look like. You could just copy and paste it. There's this cool website called Slides Go, where it gives you templates, and they give you free templates in PowerPoint and Google Slides and Keynote. So all you have to do is, like, if you want this one here, all you have to do is just go ahead and download it, and you can actually use it on PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and download it. And once it's downloaded, I can go back to OneDrive, and then I could do upload. Upload is the opposite of download. Do files, look in my computer. Here it is. Open. Drawback about being on the internet is just that everything kind of slows down if you're doing many different things. There we go. It usually doesn't go this slow, a little bit faster sometimes. I'm clicking on it, and then I can actually just work on it now. It's on PowerPoint format, and I could just delete it. And the library has some really great resources. So if you go to the library website, you can search for PowerPoint books here on the search box. And if you scroll a little bit further down, you can go to the research tab. And then once you go to the research tab, you scroll down to Learning Express, and here you can take a full course on PowerPoint. Just keep going down. Here it is, Learning Express. You can also build your resume on here, and you can take classes on Access and Excel. And then you go to Computer Skills, and then Popular Software Tools. And here's the Microsoft tools that you can take classes on. PowerPoint 2019 is pretty darn close to what I was just demonstrating here a moment ago. And then here's the basics of Microsoft Office 365, which is kind of what I've been covering here at the moment. Really cool classes you can access for free with your library card. And then lastly, here is my presentation that you're going to get a copy of. All kinds of tips here. I'll kind of skim through it here. So here's a little bit of summary about PowerPoint. You can access it for free on office.com or outlook.com. And it's called PowerPoint Online. Parts of a slideshow, the smart art, the icons, the designer function, OneDrive and the cloud, using it on your phone. On your phone, it looks something like this. And for this part of my workshop, I'm going to just kind of talk about facilitating, doing like a workshop, kind of like the one I'm doing here at the moment, and some things you would want to look out for. So just making sure you're able to practice, preferably practice with another person that you can trust, or maybe even record yourself. That would be terrific, and then you can play back your recording. Here's some training pitfalls if using pictures with these watermarks or low resolution, inconsistent formatting. So maybe you have big text that has like a different font style, and then using like different fonts throughout the presentation. You have all this jargon and acronyms that your audience probably isn't sure what you're referring to. Create a resource list. So this is like a really great way to access resources after the workshop, which is what I'm kind of doing for you all here. If you're presenting virtually, try to do it from 2 devices. So I'm here in this presentation in 2 different devices, so I could see myself how you all see me. I'm seeing it from a different computer. You could also use your phone. Turn on the captions. Use large fonts, change your mouse cursor to a larger one. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. You can see that my mouse cursor is a lot larger. Try to start on time, end on time, end early if you can. Set an outline, agenda, icebreaker. If you work with overshares, so people who like to domineer the presentation, I have something called the 2-minute 360s. So it's kind of like having a family dinner. The analogy, it's a family dinner. So you can start off with ABC order or reverse ABC order. And then you can say everyone has 2 minutes to speak. You can pass, but we're going in that order. And then the family dinner concept is that everyone gets a chance for an appetizer, which means a speaking turn. You can pass on that appetizer. Then everyone gets a chance to speak during the first meal. You can skip the first meal if you want. Seconds, and then dessert. So everyone gets a chance to speak if they want to speak. If not, then they can pass. But that way you start establishing that rhythm. And then 2 minutes or less is a really great time for a group that's fairly large, like 10 or more. Tips, bullet point alternatives, like kind of like what we discussed before, using shapes, boxes, diagrams, templates. Templates are pre-made for you. But they kind of lock you in terms of creativity. So I don't always use them, but if you're like not really sure where to start, or if you're kind of pressed for time, template's a good place to start. 1 idea per slide. So what that means is that you don't want to like fill your slideshow with all bunch of text. It's better to have more slides and spread them out rather than just kind of jam-pack your whole entire slides with information. You could do something called like a TED Talk effect, which means that the slides auto advance. There's like a timer on there. They auto transition, and it helps you stay on track. And it's a really cool effect because you're not relying on a clicker or keyboard or someone to advance them for you. You could kind of walk around if you're doing them in person, and then the slides are transitioning. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of rehearsal in terms of getting your timing right. But if you pull that off, it's really neat to look at, and it's kind of like what you would see at a TED Talk. Timeline animation kind of demonstrated that. It's a really cool way to showing change. You can also do this with a project. When you're using images, try to have high quality images that are really high resolution. You can show difference by using different colors and shapes. So you can use a star to show a difference, and your other information is a circle, or you can use an orange to show a difference when the other shapes are like a blue color. So you could try a GIF too. So you could put a GIF into your slideshow, though it's kind of repetitive a little bit, so you use them sparingly. You can use emojis too. So there's this cool website called Emojipedia that's on your resource list, where you can incorporate different emojis. So if you're kind of like looking for a type of clip art thing, you can do a tiger. And these are the emojis that you would see on your phone or your tablet, and you can copy and paste these onto your slides. You can also use a whiteboard. So it's like a virtual board where people can collaborate with one another. It's really good for a brainstorming session. You can choose Mural or Miro. These are free options, but they have limited features. You could choose whiteboard. So I got to remove the H from whiteboard, but it's a free tool. And then Teams and Zoom and Google Meet also have some whiteboard options. And then this is the resource list that you can access. Here are ebooks and books that you can access at the library, the Learning Express. And here are all the resources to kind of help you get started. Image libraries, facilitation tips, keyboard shortcuts, working with charts, aligning. These are all videos, so these are all like some of the best PowerPoint trainers that I've seen on YouTube. Give you some tips there. Great. And that's pretty much the end of my presentation. That was kind of quick. We'll get up questions.
Doesn't look like there are any questions just yet, but I really did appreciate the kind of comprehensiveness of that that presentation, especially that it wasn't just about the using the PowerPoint 365, but also the tricks at the end for keeping attention and kind of having professional looking PowerPoint. That's a really important thing to note. I've seen a lot of very over designed and developed PowerPoints, lots of flying animations and things like that. So definitely those tips are going to help you keep your PowerPoints professional and really energizing if you're doing it in a professional environment. So I just definitely wanted to call that out. And a lot of other people are also saying that in the chat now.
Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's almost like a two-handed learning experiences. One's the mechanics of PowerPoint, and then the stylistic, the creative, the connection with your audience component that I think is also equally as important when it comes to doing a presentation. And I always try to look for more of a conservative approach with PowerPoint. So whenever possible, using white space, big letters, big words, nothing too flashy. I try to rein it in from those flashy animations like you were saying, or transitions, and then always keeping in mind the audience. So if the audience is my coworkers, then it might have more of a training booklet kind of feel to it, or a project management feel to it. If it's for my friend, then having it be a little bit more festive, a little bit more joyous, a little bit, the fonts are a little bit more not as rigid, maybe a little softer, softer types of fonts, like Comic Sans type of fonts that are a little bit more rounded. There's a really good one called Poppins, which I really love. It's a really nice font that has really round letters on there.
All right. Well, thank you for all of your advice and your presentation. That was great. It looks like there aren't any further questions right now. Just a reminder that we have one final instructional class with Carlos. That's going to be next week. That's next Tuesday at 7, and it is going to be on Excel. So if you're looking for more of the spreadsheet kind of answers, definitely register for that, because we'll have it waiting for you then. So thank you again.